Okay, we're right at 5 o'clock. If I could get the commission to come back and we'll begin the workshop.
Keep going back through all the numbers. Yeah. Won't tell you what I did.
Because it lowered it quite a bit, didn't it?
It's already, oops, waiting on Rob.
Yeah, he just wanted to rush.
Oh, okay. So I'm just gonna have you give your changes, and then I'm gonna ask the board if they have any additional questions, concerns, the same from the public, and we'll go from there.
Yep, that's what I was thinking. There's no sense. I went through pretty heavy last week.
Just waiting on the attorney to return, and then it's like herding cats today. No rush. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to begin our second budget workshop. And I'm going to begin by asking our city manager, Michael White, to go through any changes or additions, deletions he may have made, and then give an opportunity for question and discussion from the board. If you would, each time you have a question, if you could refer to the page and, the approximate position on the page of the item that you're questioning, that would be helpful to everyone. And then once the commission has had a chance to ask their questions or make their concerns, then I will certainly give the same opportunity to the public and also to the staff if you have anything to add. So, Mr. White, take it away.
Okay, I have a list of summary items, so I want to go through those that affect the budget overall. One of them was between the budget last time and this time, I had some reclassification of some employees, so I moved them from facilities maintenance over to community services. So that reduced the indirect allocations by $106,590 when it deals with employees' costs. We also added to this budget some money tied to the concession stand and some of the extra money for the project coordinator for the cost of we had to post a position and add a little money for the person handling all the concession stands, the food, running and getting the food, and things of that nature, because the duties were a lot greater than what the previous employee did. We did that internally. We didn't go outside and add an employee, so that was $6,700, $6,761. As far as community services, Commissioner Friend, your committal service outdoor shelter, I looked at it quite heavily, went out there and looked at it and talked to some of my employees and some of the contractors. I added $50,000 to this budget to help try to cover that cost. I think I may be able to do it for a little less than that. But the more I think about it, I think that is a great project. I've seen the pictures from what Ms. Tender mentioned on that one. You went over and took pictures. I appreciate that because that gave me a better idea. I've also thought about a few fundraising things to possibly not make money, but help fund such a place for people. And I think it could save our citizens a lot of money. Keep from having to have an opening at the gravesite. They wouldn't have to have the opening, closing the tent, and things of that nature. I added $20,000 for the shade at Kensaw Park. That's about what it cost. I got a quote for about a month or so back, around 18. Just want to make sure I can cover that cost. So I'm hoping it's going to come in a little earlier. Mentioned things last time about Christmas decorations.
May I ask a question on that one? I'm sorry. The shade at Kensaw Park, is that in reference to the splash pad or the playground?
The playground.
Thank you.
We've already had money of $5,000 for there and $5,000 for Kane Griffin to shade
Thank you.
corners.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Christmas decorations, we got $50,000 in there. One's for a new tree, and the other part of it is for decorations to decorate the whole complex area. Raiders football, I mentioned about the Raiders. I got their budget from them, and what they typically run is about $15,000 a year. So I'm hoping we can run a lot off of concession stand sales, also donations and banner sales. But if we couldn't, that's what it costs. So I want to make sure we could cover that cost, especially the first year before we get our hands around it. Since we are working so heavily in concession stands, we do have a concessions trailer that PD's had for a while, and it needs painted. The paint's coming off of it, so I put $3,000 in there, and also that also would cover us lettering the actual concession stand. So when we have events like the 4th of July, we'll open up the concession down there. Plus, we could use this concession stand trailer to try to, there's so many people coming in trying to get drinks and food, try to limit the number of people and working on concession stand and give us another outlet. For the senior citizen food, and this is a worst case scenario of $60,000 for food, considering that I've gotten feedback from a lot of restaurants and a lot of actual businesses that want to participate. So I think that is a very high number. I think it's going to come in way under that. But that is worst case scenario if we had to buy every single meal. And not having any documentation from BCCA, I really don't know what that number is, so I had to base it off what numbers we was able to sign up for and how many people had been eating the last 3 weeks.
So let me ask a question, if I may.
Go ahead.
Is there any way that we could qualify for any type of reimbursement grants if we're participating in providing food for the senior center?
I think there is. Part of the thing I want to do is set up a 501c3 where there'd be a nonprofit down there club, where we could also, people want to make donations and things of that nature to the seniors, and it does not have to go through the city. So and we can apply for some grants and stuff that we typically cannot apply for through the city. So that's what I plan on trying to do.
Because I would like to see, if we're having to take this on, I would like to see the city get as much money back from this as possible.
Absolutely, and that's my intent. And that's the reason I'm also has started looking at some of the businesses. I spoke to one business the other day, and I'll mention his name. It's Brock Pest Control. And he said, yes, I want to serve them a meal, and I want to actually serve them. So getting a lot of feedback from businesses like that. So I think that's going to help us out tremendously. And, the main meals is Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's the hot meals. Mm-hmm. The other days are going to be like pantry days. And a lot of them has expressed a lot of interest in potluck days. So we may look at Fridays being a potluck day where the city may purchase or have donated the meat, and they bring the sides, where they can enjoy.
Are there any guidelines against that?
No, sir. I've
so
met.
Anybody could just bring food
I've
in?
met with the attorney. Yes, sir.
And may I add to what Commissioner Barnes was saying, if I may? One of the cautions, we've been looking, and I know I've been talking with the seniors too, and one of the major concerns that they had was the poor quality of the food that they were being served, and I mean no disrespect to Bay County Council on Aging, but because of the fact they were receiving that federal grant, they weren't allowed to bring any food in, and we weren't allowed to have businesses make donations, and they weren't allowed to even have like a cake brought in, and so I have no objection ever to pursuing grants, but I want us to be very careful about pursuing a grant that would come back on us and give us those same limitations again with those very poor qualities of food. And I know one of the items that's been thrown around and tossed back and forth by the city staff that I think is just amazing. It's so simple, it's amazing, is the pantry idea, talking about just having on hand a large collection of frozen dinners and cans of soup and that kind of thing that people, the days I've gone on the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I agree there are only less than a dozen people there. And, if they can go in with the city employees or whoever's there to assist them, make a bowl of soup, make a nice sandwich, heat up a really nice meal, and there are some great frozen meals now in the grocery stores that are really a lot better than what I've been seeing them get from the government supply. So While I think a grant application is always a good thing, I just want us to be careful and not get ourselves in the same position that they were in before. So that's my comment on that.
Mayor, if I may,
Sure.
I'd like to reiterate how important what you're saying. The number one complaint that I got over there was food. And more than anything, they wanted to be able to bring in food and share it. They wanted to be able to do bake sales and raise their own money. And it was the grants that tied their hands to where they couldn't do that. So I really would like to make sure that we don't tie their hands again.
Absolutely. I put $20,000 in the budget for furniture for the Senior Citizen Center, and about $50,000 in to redo the senior citizen area. That would include paint. That would include upgrading some of the areas, the kitchen, and make it a little bit more feasible to be able to do assembly line, to be able to feed people a lot quicker. And some of the things that just, are need to replace. They just wore out. So I put in this year's budget the possibility looking for a used bucket truck for our lighting systems at all the parks, and also to cut tree limbs that are higher where we typically have to farm out a lot of that work. So I'm hoping that we can find a decent bucket truck. I've looked around and got some good prices of, we could roughly get an older bucket truck, because it would be something we not use every day, around $55,000. So that would save us. I mean, facilities maintenance, I can have an electrician come out and change light bulbs and do things on all the parks one time, and it's like $10,000 bill, easy. So it costs a lot to maintain those. And a lot of times it's just changing a light bulb, but you just, they just give you a price to come out there and see what's wrong. I put $30,000 in for a boat, and let me tell you a little bit about that. The city has been donated a 34-foot Pro Line. It's in very good shape. It's got dual motors. One of the motors, it has a little problem. The cushions need redone. There'll be some cosmetic stuff needs done, but the city is in need for possibly I've had interest from the fire department and the police department for a dive team, because we are surrounded by water, also for rescue, things of that nature. So we'll have another way of getting out. We do have one boat in the fire department, but it's not conducive to diving or, trying to save lives that way. This boat is a donation, I don't mind telling you, from Jim Slanina. It's a very nice boat. Also, in this budget, make sure I put in here the possibility, I know was brought up last time, of attorney's position. That's been included in here, and the costs associated with that. And we're looking compared to what we have on staff of about $71,000 added to cost. What we have, it'd be 71, and then for the bar exam it'd be $7,000. Also in this budget, we have a decrease.
I've got a question, Mayor.
Yes.
So are we gonna have to pay for the attorney to pass the bar?
I just put it as a cost in there. I don't know.
Okay.
That's something y'all have to decide.
If I may interject, because as you remember, I'm the one that brought this up at the workshop, and if we, this item would not be needed in the budget if, as we get to that item later in the commission meeting, if the commission does not approve that item. But I can, excuse me, if I can interject, there has been a new law signed into effect. So if hypothetically, if there's a lawyer like the one that is currently on staff from another state whose spouse is military, they are permitted to now operate in another state while they're studying for the bar. If this person, if the city pays for this person to take the bar, this person has to stay in the position for 5 years or reimburse the city in a prorated way back for this bar exam. So that's how, and there's more explanation when we get to that item, but that's just kind of in a nutshell.
Moving to the enterprise funds, water has been reduced by $34,730. Sewer's been reduced by $20,690. Sanitation $23,238, and stormwater by $18,554. So almost $100,000 that has been lowered due to truing up some numbers a little bit better and getting a better handle on what we need. We did increase stormwater debt service for 10 months due to the fact we are going to do that stormwater. That's the project y'all voted on last time. And with principal and interest, that'll be about $52,700. We did true up the carryovers from the SRF, water and sewer, and the surtax, and that's an amount of $3.591 million due to the fact that we have completed a lot of that work, and we will finish that work this next fiscal year. And we also transferred from water to stormwater $69,000 more to help cover that debt. And this budget also has the transportation impact fee budget will be froze where it's at now. We have added a mobility fee fund where we can keep those dollars separate because by law we can only use them for certain things. That's the changes I made to this budget. By changing that, overall, I kind of told you how much on the different enterprise funds. For the general fund, you're looking at, by adding all that thing, it's actually adding $175,113 to the general fund in total.
What does that make the total budget?
That would be on page 7. That would have the total numbers there. You looking for,
You look at 36,397, is that what we're looking?
what'd you say?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the general fund. I mean, the revenues is what we'll be bringing in 36. Total expenditures will be 37, but you got to remember also over $1 million of that is because of fire renovation and different funds that we have. The surtax dollars, $603,000, and $170 for the roundabout. So you add those up and subtract those by the change in fund balance of $1,248,712 minus $1,073,599. That's $175,113, and you can see the ending balances of each fund. You got almost $5.6 million in general fund. You'll have $580,000 in CRA fund. You have almost $15 million in water, $12 million in sewer, 4.3 in stormwater, and sanitation be $4 million for an ending net balance of $41 million.
Any other questions, or Mr. White, did you have more information? Any other questions from the commission about any of the additions that Mr. White has made to the budget?
I have a
Commissioner
question.
Tender, go ahead.
And I just need some clarification because I want to make sure I understand. We were at 39 million at the tentative, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're saying it's going up 3 million?
No.
No.
All the funds decreased with the exception of the general fund. In that fund, you also got to think you have surtax, you have the bonds and everything that's in there that's not spent yet, but it'll be carried over. So it is a tricky number. But by doing the calculations, you do see 41 million as the total budget.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question about the multimodal mobility fund, as far as the impact fees. Have those do not begin until October 1st, is that correct?
No. Took the
So
first one.
so they've already begun
Yes,
immediately?
It
Okay.
come after y'all approved it.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it started. That's
No, ma'am.
great. That's great news. Good. Any other questions from the commission or concerns? Okay, at this time, then I'd open up to the public. Any questions? And if you have questions about the budget or about what Mr. White has said today, if you would just be specific on the page and go from there. Okay, there appear to be no questions. Everybody's good on the commission? All right, so then we will adjourn the workshop. We have about 35 minutes until the commission meeting begins at 6. So thank you, everybody, for all the hard work. Once again, to the staff, thank you so much. And I also wanted to just say one more time to our accountant, Beverly, this budget with the Excel and the way it's laid out, other than just looking at that pie chart and all those summaries, I cannot tell you how much easier it was to read, how much easier it was to navigate, and what a fabulous job that you did on it. Congratulations. Thank you. So the workshop is over.